What happens when a country music superstar walks into one of daytime television's most unpredictable hot seats and refuses to play by the rules? The answer involves raised voices, uncomfortable silences, and security being called to the stage. This is the story of how Blake Shelton's appearance on The View went from a friendly promotional interview to an absolute disaster that ended with him being escorted off the set. Before we get into exactly what was said that caused Joy Behar to lose her composure completely, make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below telling us what you think about celebrities speaking their minds on talk shows. Now let's get into what really happened on that stage. Blake Shelton walked onto The View set with his usual confident swagger, waving to the audience as they applauded. He was there to promote his latest album, wearing his signature jeans and a button-down shirt, looking every bit the country star America had come to know. The panel consisted of Joy Behar, Whoopi Goldberg, Sarah N., Sunny Hostin, and Alyssa Farah Griffin, all smiling as he took his seat on the couch. Whoopi started things off with her typical warm welcome. "Blake Shelton, welcome back to The View. It's been a minute since we've had you here." Blake smiled, settling into the couch. "It's good to be back, Whoopi. Always an interesting time when I come on this show." The audience laughed, and there was an almost knowing quality to Blake's tone, as if he understood exactly what kind of show he'd walked into. Sarah N. jumped in next, asking about his new album, the creative process, and how different it felt from his previous work. Blake answered enthusiastically, talking about the sound, the collaborations, and what inspired some of the songs. Everything seemed normal, almost too normal for a show known for its confrontational style. Then Joy Behar leaned forward, and you could sense the shift in energy immediately. "Blake, I want to ask you about something. You've been pretty quiet lately on social issues, and I'm curious, is that a deliberate choice, or do you just not have opinions on what's happening in the world?" Blake's smile didn't fade, but his eyes sharpened. "Well, Joy, I wouldn't say I've been quiet. I just think there's a time and place for certain conversations, and I'm a musician first. People don't come to my concerts to hear me lecture them." Joy wasn't backing down. "But don't you think artists have a responsibility to use their platform? You have millions of fans who look up to you." "I think artists have a responsibility to make good music," Blake replied, his tone still friendly but firm. "And I think people are smart enough to form their own opinions without needing me to tell them what to think." Sunny Hostin chimed in, her voice measured but pointed. "That's an interesting perspective, Blake, but some would argue that silence is complicity. When you have the kind of influence you have, staying neutral is actually taking a side." Blake shifted in his seat, and for the first time, a hint of frustration crossed his face. "I don't think staying neutral is taking a side, Sunny. I think it's respecting that my fans come from all walks of life, all different backgrounds, all different beliefs. I'm not going to alienate half of them because I want to score points on Twitter." "So, you're saying you'd rather protect your brand than stand up for what's right?" Joy interjected, her voice rising slightly. "I'm saying I'd rather bring people together with music than divide them with politics." Blake shot back, his Oklahoma accent getting thicker as his irritation grew. "And honestly, Joy, I think that's what's wrong with everything right now. Everybody wants to put you in a box, make you pick a side, and if you don't, they act like you're the problem." The audience reacted with a mix of applause and murmurs. Whoopi tried to jump in to moderate, but Joy was already responding. "Nobody's trying to put you in a box. Blake, we're asking you to have a backbone and use your voice for something meaningful instead of just selling records." Blake's jaw tightened. "You know what, Joy? I do use my voice for meaningful things. I use it to give people an escape from all the negativity, from all the fighting, from all the people like you who want to turn every conversation into a battle." The studio went quiet. Sarah N. eyes widened, and you could see Alyssa Farah Griffin glance nervously at the producers off camera. Joy's face flushed red, and she sat back in her chair, clearly stunned by the directness of Blake's response. "People like me," Joy repeated, her voice sharp. "What exactly do you mean by that?" Blake didn't hesitate. "I mean people who can't just have a conversation without making it personal, without attacking someone's character because they don't fall in line with whatever agenda you're pushing that day." Joy's voice went up another notch. "I don't have an agenda, Blake. I have principles. There's a difference, and I respect that," Blake said, though his tone suggested otherwise. "But you don't get to question my integrity or suggest I don't have a backbone just because I choose to handle things differently than you would." Whoopi finally managed to break through. Okay, let's all take a breath here. Blake, I think what Joy is trying to say is, I know exactly what Joy is trying to say. Whoopi, Blake interrupted, his eyes still locked on Joy. She's trying to bait me into saying something controversial so she can have her moment. I've seen this playbook before. Joy slammed her hand on the table, the sound echoing through the studio. That is absolutely not what I'm doing. I'm asking you legitimate questions, and you're being defensive and disrespectful. Blake let out a short laugh. You just accused me of not having a backbone on national television, and I'm the one being disrespectful. You know what? Maybe if you actually stood for something, I wouldn't have to ask these questions, Joy fired back. Blake stood up from the couch abruptly, and the audience gasped. I stand for plenty. Joy. I stand for my family, my fans, my music, and treating people with respect even when we disagree, something you clearly know nothing about. Joy stood up too, pointing her finger at Blake. Don't you dare come on this show and talk down to me. I've been doing this for decades, and I don't need some country singer telling me how to have a conversation. And I don't need some talk show host who's built her career on being controversial telling me I don't have principles, Blake countered, his voice rising to match hers. Whoopi was out of her seat now, trying to physically position herself between them. All right, that's enough. Both of you need to sit down, and we need to— No, Whoopi, Joy interrupted. I'm not going to sit here and be insulted by someone who doesn't have the courage to take a real stand on anything important. Blake threw his hands up. There it is again. Because I don't perform my beliefs for your approval, I don't have courage. You know it takes courage, Joy? Not caving to pressure from people like you who think everyone needs to think exactly the way you do. People like me are the reason you have the freedom to make your little songs, Joy snapped, her face now completely red. Little songs. Blake's voice dropped to a dangerously quiet level. Is that what you think of what I do? That it's beneath you? Sarah Ann tried to jump in, her voice nervous. I think what Joy means is... I know what she means, Sarah, Blake said, not taking his eyes off Joy. She means that unless you're using your platform the way she thinks you should, what you do doesn't matter. Well, I've got news for you, Joy. My fans don't think my songs are little. They think they're important because they help them get through their days. Joy crossed her arms. And I'm sure they'd think even more of you if you actually used that platform to help them in real, tangible ways instead of just entertaining them. You don't get to decide what's real and tangible for my fans, Blake said, his voice steady but intense. You sit here in your New York studio and act like you know what matters to people in Oklahoma. In Tennessee? In Texas? You don't have a clue. Here we go with the coastal elite nonsense, Joy said, rolling her eyes. That's always the go-to when people don't have a real argument. Blake took a step closer to the table. It's not nonsense, Joy. It's reality. You live in a bubble, and anyone who doesn't fit into your worldview is automatically wrong. That's not journalism. That's not even commentary. That's just arrogance. Sunny Hostin stood up now, her voice calm but firm. Blake, I think you need to take a step back and... Why? Blake turned to face her. Because I'm not supposed to defend myself? I came here to talk about my album, and instead I got ambushed with questions designed to make me look bad no matter how I answered them. Nobody ambushed you, Joy insisted. We asked you fair questions that any public figure should be able to answer. Fair questions? Blake laughed bitterly. You attacked my character in the first 5 minutes. That's not fair. That's a hit job. Whoopi raised her hands, her voice commanding. Everybody needs to calm down right now. This is getting out of hand. It got out of hand the second Joy decided she wanted to make this about politics instead of music, Blake said, but his voice had lowered slightly at Whoopi's intervention. Joy wasn't done, though. Everything is political, Blake. Your refusal to engage is political. Your silence is political. You don't get to opt out and pretend you're above it all. I'm not pretending I'm above anything, Blake replied, frustration evident in every word. I'm choosing to focus on what I do best and not wade into every controversy because people like you... The audience was completely silent now. The kind of silence that only happens when people are witnessing something they know they shouldn't be seeing. Alyssa Farrah Griffin finally spoke up, her voice cautious. I think we all need to remember that we can disagree without being disagreeable. Blake turned to her, and his expression softened just slightly. I appreciate that, Alyssa. I really do. But I didn't come here to be disagreeable. I came here to talk about music, and this turned into something else entirely. Joy wasn't letting it go. It turned into something else because you got defensive the moment I asked you a simple question about your responsibility as an artist. It wasn't a simple question. Joy, Blake said, turning back to face her. It was a loaded question designed to make me look like I don't care about anything but myself. And when I didn't give you the answer you wanted, you doubled down. I doubled down because your answer was disappointing, Joy said flatly. You have this enormous platform, and you're wasting it. Blake's face hardened again. Wasting it? I've raised millions for charity. I've helped struggling artists get their start. I've used my voice to support causes I believe in without making it a public spectacle. Just because I don't tweet about every issue or make grand statements on talk shows doesn't mean I'm wasting anything. But nobody knows about those things because you won't talk about them, Sonny interjected, trying to find middle ground. Maybe if you were more vocal about your charitable work, people would understand where you're coming from. I don't do charity work for praise, Blake said, his voice tired now. I do it because it's the right thing to do. I don't need a pat on the back or a news cycle dedicated to what a great guy I am. Joy leaned forward again, her eyes narrowing. That's very convenient, Blake. You get to claim you do all these wonderful things, but there's no proof, no accountability, nothing. Just your word. Blake's mouth fell open in disbelief. Are you calling me a liar now? I'm saying it's easy to claim you do things when you never talk about them, Joy said with a shrug. How are we supposed to know what's real and what's just good PR? Blake looked around at the other hosts, his expression incredulous. Is she serious right now? Whoopi, is she actually accusing me of making up my charity work? Whoopi looked uncomfortable. I don't think that's what Joy meant, Blake. That's exactly what she meant, Blake said, his anger flaring up again. First, I don't have a backbone. Then I'm wasting my platform. Now I'm apparently lying about helping people. What's next, Joy? What other accusations do you want to throw at me? I'm not throwing accusations, Joy insisted. I'm asking for proof. If you're doing all these amazing things, show us. Tell us about them. Give us something concrete instead of just vague claims. Blake pulled out his phone from his pocket, his hands shaking slightly with anger. You want proof? Fine. I'll pull up the donation records right now. I'll show you every check I've written, every fundraiser I participated in, every ... Put your phone away. Blake, Whoopi said gently, you don't need to prove anything. Apparently I do, Blake said, still holding his phone, because Joy here thinks I'm full of it. Joy rolled her eyes. Oh, please. Don't be so dramatic. I'm not saying you've never done anything good. I'm saying that you hide behind this humble routine to avoid taking real stances on important issues. It's not a routine, Blake said through gritted teeth. It's who I am. I was raised to do good things quietly, to help people without expecting recognition, to treat others the way I want to be treated. I'm sorry, that doesn't fit your definition of activism. Activism isn't about fitting definitions, Joy countered. It's about using your voice when it matters, about standing up for people who can't stand up for themselves. And you think I don't do that? Blake asked, his voice rising again. You think because I don't post about it on social media or give interviews about how woke I am, that means I don't care about people? I think you care more about your image than you do about making a difference, Joy said bluntly. The words hung in the air like a bomb. Blake stood there, staring at Joy, and for a moment, it looked like he might actually walk off the set right then. His chest was rising and falling rapidly, his jaw clenched so tight you could see the muscles working. You know what, Joy, Blake finally said, his voice dangerously quiet. I've been in this business for over 20 years. I've dealt with critics, haters, people who think country music is stupid, people who think I'm not talented, people who think I sold out. But I have never, in all that time, had someone sit across from me and question my character the way you just did. Joy crossed her arms defiantly. Maybe nobody's had the guts to call you out before. Call me out? Blake's voice exploded. Call me out for what? For not performing my beliefs for your entertainment, for not turning every interview into a political statement, for trying to be a unifying force instead of another divisive voice. For being a coward, Joy said simply. The studio erupted. The audience gasped. Some people called out in shock, and the other hosts all started talking at once. Blake took a step toward the table, and you could see producers moving in the background, clearly concerned about where this was heading. "What did you just call me?" Blake's voice was low and threatening. Joy stood her ground, not backing down an inch. "I called you a coward, Blake, because that's what you are. You're afraid to take a stand because you might lose fans, might lose money, might lose your precious reputation." "You don't know a damn thing about me," Blake said, his face flushed red. "You sit here in your comfortable chair and judge people you've never met, whose lives you know nothing about, and you have the nerve to call me a coward." "I know what I see," Joy said, "and I see someone who cares more about staying popular than doing what's right." Blake laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You want to know what's really going on here, Joy? You're mad because I won't play your game. You want me to say something controversial so you can tear me apart, so you can have your viral moment, so you can prove how tough you are. But I'm not going to give you that satisfaction. This isn't about me," Joy insisted. "This is about you and your refusal to stand for anything meaningful." "I stand for plenty," Blake shot back. "I stand for treating people with dignity. I stand for believing that people are more than their political opinions. I stand for the idea that we can disagree without hating each other. But those things don't matter to you because they don't make good television." Whoopi was standing now, moving toward Blake with her hands raised. "Blake, I think we need to take a commercial break." "No," Joy said sharply. "We're not taking a break. I want to finish this conversation." "There's nothing to finish," Blake said. "You've made it clear what you think of me, and I've made it clear that I'm not going to be bullied into being someone I'm not." "Nobody's bullying you," Joy said with exasperation. "We're having a discussion." "A discussion." Blake's voice dripped with sarcasm. "You've called me a coward, accused me of lying about my charity work, and suggested I have no principles. That's not a discussion, Joy. That's a character assassination." Sarah N. jumped in, her voice pleading. "Can we please just everyone take a breath and ... "No, Sarah," Blake interrupted. "I'm done taking breaths. I'm done being polite while Joy here takes shots at me. She wants to have this conversation. We're going to have it." Joy smiled coldly. "Good then, let's have it. Tell me, Blake, what exactly are you afraid of? What's so scary about taking a stand?" "I'm not afraid of anything," Blake said firmly. "I just don't believe that every issue requires a public declaration. I don't think my opinion on every controversy is important or necessary." "So you admit you have opinions. You just won't share them," Joy pressed. "I have plenty of opinions," Blake replied. "I just don't think my job as an entertainer is to share all of them with the world." "But your job as a human being is," Joy countered. Blake shook his head in frustration. "My job as a human being is to be a good person, to help where I can, and to treat others with respect. I don't owe anyone a breakdown of my political beliefs." "You owe it to your fans who look up to you," Joy insisted. "My fans look up to me because of my music, not because of my politics," Blake said, "and I respect them enough to let them make their own decisions about important issues instead of trying to influence them." Joy scoffed. "That's such a cop-out. Every artist influences their fans, whether they want to or not. The question is whether you do it responsibly. And I do," Blake said. "I influence them through songs about love, heartbreak, resilience, and hope. I don't need to influence them by telling them who to vote for or what to think about every issue. But what about issues that directly affect people's lives?" Sonny asked, trying to steer the conversation. "Don't you think you have a responsibility to speak up about things like healthcare, education, equality?" Blake turned to her, his expression softening slightly at her more reasonable tone. "I think those are incredibly important issues, Sonny, and I think people are capable of forming their own opinions about them without needing me to weigh in. But your silence can be interpreted as apathy." Sonny pressed gently. "Then that's on the people doing the interpreting," Blake said. "I can't control how people perceive me. I can only control my actions." Blake heard it, and his entire demeanor changed. The frustration, the anger, all of it crystallized into something colder and more controlled. "You know what? I'm done here. I don't need to sit here and be insulted by someone who's made a career out of being nasty to people." "Oh, here we go," Joy said, throwing her hands up. "Now, I'm the bad guy because I asked you tough questions." "You didn't ask tough questions," Blake said, his voice steady despite the obvious anger. "You attacked me personally from the moment I sat down. There's a difference between journalism and bullying, and you crossed that line a long time ago." Joy stood up fully now, pointing at Blake. "Don't you dare accuse me of bullying. I've been doing this job longer than you've been famous, and I don't need some country singer telling me how to do my job. And I don't need some talk show host who's never written a song, never performed for thousands of people, never built anything meaningful, telling me I'm wasting my platform," Blake fired back. The other hosts were all on their feet now, all trying to talk over each other. Whoopi's voice cut through the chaos. "Okay, that's it. We're going to commercial. Blake, Joy, both of you need to." "No," Blake said firmly, cutting her off. "I'm not going to commercial. I'm leaving. I'm not going to sit here for another second and let Joy tear me apart for your ratings." Joy's eyes widened with indignation. "For our ratings? You came on this show to promote your album, Blake. You're using us just as much as you're accusing us of using you." "I came here to have a conversation," Blake said, grabbing his jacket from the back of the couch. "I didn't come here to be ambushed and insulted. There's a difference." "You're being a baby," Joy said dismissively. "You can't handle a little pushback. So you're running away." Blake stopped mid-motion, his jacket halfway on, and turned to stare at Joy with an expression that made several people in the studio visibly uncomfortable. "A little pushback? You called me a coward. You accused me of lying. You suggested I don't care about anyone but myself. That's not pushback, Joy. That's a personal attack." "If you feel attacked, maybe you should examine why," Joy said, her arms crossed defensively. "I feel attacked because you attacked me," Blake said slowly, as if explaining something to a child. "This isn't complicated. You decided before I even sat down that you were going to make me the villain, and nothing I said was going to change that." Sonny tried one more time to mediate. "Blake, I don't think anyone sees you as a villain. We're just trying to understand your perspective." Blake turned to her, and his voice softened slightly. "Sonny, I appreciate that. I really do. But this stopped being about understanding perspectives when Joy started making it personal. I've been on hundreds of interviews, and I've never had someone go after me like this." "Maybe you've never been challenged like this," Joy interjected. "Challenged?" Blake's voice rose again. "Is that what you call this?" "I call it disrespectful, unprofessional, and honestly beneath what I thought this show was supposed to be about." Joy laughed bitterly. "Oh, please, spare me the lecture about professionalism. You're the one who came on here and couldn't handle a real conversation." "I can handle any conversation," Blake said, his voice tight with controlled anger. "What I can't handle is someone who pretends to want a dialogue but really just wants to score points and make themselves look good at my expense." "That's not what I'm doing," Joy insisted. "That's exactly what you're doing," Blake countered. "Every question was designed to trap me. Every response I gave was twisted to make me look bad. You weren't interested in my answers. You were interested in getting a reaction." Joy took a step toward Blake, and the security personnel moved even closer. "I was interested in getting the truth. Something you seem allergic to." Blake's face went red. "The truth? You want the truth?" "Joy, the truth is, you're everything that's wrong with media today. You don't want to inform people. You want to inflame them. You don't want to have conversations. You want to have confrontations. And you hide behind this idea that you're just being tough or asking hard questions, when really you're just being mean." The audience gasped at the directness of Blake's words. Joy's mouth opened in shock, and for a moment she seemed at a loss for words. But only for a moment. "How dare you?" Joy said, her voice shaking with anger. "How dare you come on this show and tell me I'm what's wrong with media? I've dedicated my life to asking tough questions and holding people accountable." "Holding people accountable?" Blake laughed harshly. "Is that what you think this was? You weren't holding me accountable for anything, Joy. You were attacking me because I wouldn't dance to your tune. I was trying to get you to take responsibility for your platform," Joy shouted. "And I told you, I do take responsibility for it," Blake shouted back, "just not in the way you want me to. But that's not good enough for you, because you think your way is the only way." Whoopi moved between them now, physically putting herself in the space separating Blake and Joy. "Both of you need to stop right now. This has gone way too far." "It went too far the second Joy called me a coward," Blake said, not taking his eyes off Joy. "And it went too far when you started attacking my character," Joy responded. "I'm responding to you attacking mine," Blake said. "I never attacked your character," Joy insisted. "I questioned your choices. By calling me a coward and suggesting I'm selfish, and saying I don't care about anyone, Blake listed. Those are character attacks. Joy, own what you did. Joy's face was bright red now. Fine, you want me to own it? I think you're a coward. I think you hide behind this aw-shucks country boy routine to avoid taking any real stands. I think you care more about your brand than you do about using your influence for good. There, I said it clearly. Does that make you happy? Blake stared at her for a long moment, and when he spoke, his voice was eerily calm. No, Joy, it doesn't make me happy. It makes me sad. Because I came here thinking I could have a respectful conversation with professionals, and instead I got attacked by someone who's so caught up in their own righteousness that they can't see how toxic they've become. Joy's voice went up several octaves. I'm toxic. That's rich coming from someone who won't even take a stand on basic human rights. I never said I don't support human rights, Blake said, his voice rising to match hers. I said I don't think I need to perform my support for your approval. But you can't accept that because in your world, if you're not shouting about something, you don't care about it. In my world, if you're not speaking up, you're complicit, Joy shot back. And in my world, you can care about things and help people without making a spectacle of it, Blake responded. Our worlds are different, Joy, and that's okay. What's not okay is you treating me like I'm a bad person because I don't do things your way. Alyssa tried to jump in again. I think we can all agree that there are different ways to make a difference and— Stay out of this, Alyssa, Joy snapped, not taking her eyes off Blake. Blake shook his head in disbelief. You can't even let someone try to make peace without shutting them down. Do you hear yourself? I hear myself just fine, Joy said. What I'm hearing from you is a lot of excuses and justifications for doing nothing. I'm not doing nothing, Blake said, his frustration reaching a boiling point. I'm doing plenty. I'm just not doing it the way you think I should, and that's what's really bothering you. You can't control me, you can't manipulate me into saying what you want, and it's killing you. Joy stepped closer, and now security was definitely moving in. I don't want to control you, Blake. I want you to grow a spine. That was it. Blake took a step forward, and 2 security guards immediately moved between him and Joy. Whoopi raised her voice, louder than anyone had heard so far. That is enough. Security, please escort Blake out. Blake looked at Whoopi. Are you serious right now? She's been attacking me this entire time, and I'm the one getting kicked out. You both need to cool off, Whoopi said, though her voice was gentler now. And right now, removing you from the situation is the best way to make that happen. Blake looked around at all the hosts, at the audience, at the cameras still rolling. Unbelievable. I defend myself, and I'm the problem. Joy crossed her arms, a look of satisfaction crossing her face. You're not a victim here, Blake. Blake turned to her one last time as the security guards positioned themselves on either side of him. Neither are you, Joy, but Yeshua loved playing one. Joy's face contorted with anger. Get him out of here. The security guards gently but firmly took Blake by the arms. He didn't resist, but he kept talking. This is what happens when you don't fall in line, folks. They literally remove you from the conversation. You removed yourself, Joy called after him. By refusing to engage honestly, Blake stopped, turning back even as the guards continued to guide him toward the exit. I engaged more honestly than you can handle. Joy, that's the real problem here. So what do you think? Was Blake right to defend his approach to using his platform, or was Joy justified in challenging him to speak up more? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and make sure to hit that subscribe button for more stories about the moments when celebrities and hosts clash in ways nobody expected.